Sarah, Jessica, Amanda, Claire, and Melissa, 5 suburban moms who seemed ordinary on the outside, were hiding secrets darker than anyone could imagine. Caught on Bodycam, their lies unraveled one by one, exposing a pact of deception, fraud, and betrayal that would shock an entire community. The night was still and calm, yet the atmosphere inside the small suburban home was anything but ordinary. Police officers had been dispatched after receiving a frantic 911 call from a distressed mother. The bodycam footage captured the moment they arrived, lights flashing against the quiet houses that lined the street. The woman was standing barefoot on her lawn, arms wrapped tightly around herself, rocking back and forth as if to calm invisible waves of panic. Her voice cracked as she insisted that her children were missing, gone without a trace, after a heated argument with her husband earlier that evening. The officers listened carefully, but something about her story seemed off from the beginning. She could not recall the exact time the children had disappeared, and every detail shifted each time a new question was asked. When the officers entered the home, their body cams revealed a scene that did not match her story. The dining table had plates set out, food still warm, as though dinner had just been prepared but never eaten. Upstairs, the children's beds were neatly made, pillows perfectly fluffed, as though no one had touched them that night. Even the toys in the living room were arranged neatly untouched, in a way that suggested staging rather than reality. The unsettling quiet in the home only deepened the mystery. If the children had truly been there only hours ago, where were the signs of their presence? The woman continued pacing, muttering excuses and theories, claiming maybe her husband had taken the kids, then switching to say they might have slipped out on their own. Yet the husband's car was parked in the driveway, and a quick search revealed he was nowhere inside the home. The inconsistencies began to pile up, and the officers exchanged uneasy glances, aware that something much darker might be unfolding than a simple family dispute. Bodycam footage captured every nervous glance, every hesitation in her words, and every frantic movement of her hands. Neighbors began to gather across the street, whispering among themselves, shocked that such chaos could erupt in their quiet community. For the officers, what should have been a routine welfare check had transformed into the beginning of a disturbing puzzle. They could feel it in their gut. The woman was hiding something, and while the truth was still buried, the first piece of evidence was already secured: the bodycam footage that showed her unraveling under the weight of her own story. This was not just another call. It was the start of a case that would leave everyone questioning how well they really knew the people living next door. Just weeks after the strange disappearance case in the suburbs, another unsettling call drew officers to a different neighborhood. This time, the emergency dispatch reported a stolen car with a baby trapped inside. The mother who placed the call sounded frantic over the phone, her voice rising with panic as she described her infant being taken. The bodycam footage showed officers racing through the streets, sirens blaring, urgency in every movement. When they arrived, the mother was standing on the sidewalk, wringing her hands, her eyes darting wildly as she repeated that someone had stolen her car. She insisted she had stepped away for just a moment, leaving her baby in the back seat, and when she returned, the vehicle was gone. Officers immediately began canvassing the area, their body cams capturing the tension in every second. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, alarmed by the flashing lights and raised voices. After a frantic 20 minutes of searching, the car was found only 3 blocks away, parked neatly by the curb with the doors unlocked. Inside, the baby was sitting calmly in the car seat, unharmed and quiet. Relief washed over the officers, but suspicion quickly followed. If this had been a kidnapping, why was the car left untouched and the child completely safe? The scene did not fit the desperate story the mother had painted. Back at the scene, the bodycam revealed her reaction when officers told her the child had been found. Instead of overwhelming relief, her face shifted almost instantly into a subdued calm. It was as though the performance had ended the moment her claim was disproven. Investigators noted her unusual composure, comparing it to the frenzied panic she had displayed just minutes earlier. Something about the entire situation felt staged, carefully crafted to appear like a crisis. When detectives later reviewed the footage, they noticed subtle details: the mother's lack of tears, her oddly rehearsed answers, and the way she kept glancing toward the cameras as if to check how she appeared on record. This wasn't just a mother in distress, it was someone performing for an audience. A deeper look into her personal life revealed ties to another recent case, the suburban mother who reported her children missing. Both women were connected through an online parenting group where they frequently exchanged messages. What initially seemed like two bizarre but separate incidents was beginning to look like part of a disturbing pattern. The body cams had not only captured unusual behavior, but had also provided the first thread linking these women together in ways investigators could no longer ignore. Detectives began piecing together the strange similarities between the two mothers, and what they uncovered led them down a dark path. Social media records revealed that both women were active members of a private online parenting group that had a surprisingly small but close-knit circle. At first glance, the group seemed harmless, filled with discussions about family struggles, money problems, and emotional support. But beneath the cheerful posts and encouraging comments was a hidden thread that disturbed investigators. The group had secret chat rooms where a handful of women vented about their personal lives in ways that suggested not just frustration, but a desire to manipulate and deceive. The 5 most active members, including the 2 already caught in suspicious incidents, referred to themselves as the Circle. Bodycam footage from other calls soon revealed the involvement of 3 more women. One mother staged a burglary at her home, claiming someone had stolen valuables and threatening notes had been left behind. Another was found during a welfare check, insisting her husband had vanished overnight, though his belongings and wallet were still in the house. The final woman fabricated an attack, showing officers scratches on her arms that she claimed came from an unknown intruder. In each case, the details were inconsistent, their performances uneasy, and their eyes always seemed to drift toward the cameras recording them. The footage captured a disturbing consistency. These women weren't improvising panic, they were practicing it. Investigators suspected the group had been coaching each other on how to cry, how to sound believable, and how to weave stories that would withstand police questioning. The more they lied, the more confident they became, as though the body cams were not a threat but a challenge. Each incident built on the last, a series of increasingly bold fabrications that drew more and more attention from law enforcement. As detectives reviewed hours of footage, they noticed a hidden code in the women's statements, phrases repeated, excuses worded the same way, and timelines that seemed rehearsed. It became clear these were not isolated cries for help but part of a carefully woven pact. What had begun as an online bond over shared struggles had spiraled into something dangerous, a collective game of deception played out in real time against the police. The Circle wasn't just a support group. It was a secret alliance of mothers who had turned their frustrations into a pact to cover one another's lies, no matter how messy or criminal they became. The first real crack in the Circle appeared during what was supposed to be a routine welfare check. Officers were dispatched to a modest home after a neighbor reported hearing loud noises and cries late at night. The responding body cam recorded the moment one of the 5 mothers opened the door, her arms marked with fresh bruises. She claimed she had fallen down the stairs, but her explanation was shaky and changed every time she was pressed for details. The camera followed as officers walked through her home, and what they captured told a different story. Papers were scattered across the kitchen counter, bank statements, money transfer receipts, and envelopes of cash hidden beneath grocery bags. The officers didn't fully understand the scope of what they had found that night, but the footage later became crucial. Investigators reviewing the case noticed patterns in the documents. Large sums of money were being shuffled between the 5 women, disguised as loans or childcare payments. The transactions matched dates of the staged emergencies. Each false police report coincided with sudden cash movements, suggesting their elaborate performances were distractions for something bigger, financial schemes that stretched far beyond simple lies. It wasn't just about deception for attention anymore. It was about greed and survival. The more the detectives uncovered, the darker the picture became. One woman's staged burglary aligned with the disappearance of thousands of dollars from her workplace. Another's fabricated missing person case covered the period when her husband actually went missing. Bodycam footage showed her nervously leading officers through her spotless house, pointing out supposed signs of forced entry that didn't exist. Later, investigators would learn her husband's last known bank withdrawals had been transferred into accounts linked to the Circle. The footage revealed subtle tells the women didn't realize they were leaving behind. Eyes darting toward hidden documents, nervous glances when questions cut to close, and slip-ups in their shared stories. Together, these clues pointed to a pact that had escalated far beyond online chatter. They weren't just covering for each other's mistakes. They were building a web of fraud, manipulation, and perhaps something even more sinister. By the time detectives pieced it together, suspicion had shifted from messy lies to potential criminal conspiracy. The circle was no longer just a curious group of troubled mothers. The evidence suggested they were willing to sacrifice anyone, including family members, to protect their secrets. The messy stories had turned into something much darker, and the truth hiding behind their walls was beginning to leak through every crack. The trial drew enormous attention, the courtroom filled with reporters, family members, and curious neighbors who had once believed these women were nothing more than ordinary mothers dealing with everyday struggles. Now they were being presented as conspirators in a disturbing criminal web. The prosecution relied heavily on bodycam footage, rolling hours of clips before the jury. Each video showed the women unraveling in real time, caught in their own contradictions. The first mother's frantic pacing outside her pristine home, the second mother's oddly calm reaction to her stolen car, the staged burglaries, the bruises that didn't match the stories, all of it laid bare. The footage made it impossible to deny that the circle had been weaving lies for months, if not years. As the case built, the women's once solid pact began to collapse. Under pressure, one of them broke down on the stand, admitting the circle had agreed to protect each other no matter what. She confessed the staged emergencies had started as a twisted form of solidarity, a way to deflect attention from their real crimes. Fraud had been the foundation, but soon one member had pushed further, suggesting that removing her husband would make their schemes safer. That revelation shocked the courtroom, turning a case of deception into one of potential murder. The remaining women scrambled to distance themselves, pointing fingers at one another. Bodycam clips became weapons, replayed to expose lies they had told directly to police officers. Every nervous glance at the camera, every inconsistent word became part of the evidence that shredded their credibility. Their voices, once unified in secrecy, now cracked apart as each sought to save herself. Families of the accused sat in silence, devastated by the betrayal. Neighbors who had once waved to these women on school runs now whispered in disbelief at the scale of their deceit. What had started as 5 mothers sharing frustrations online had ended in a courtroom where their own recordings condemned them. The verdict was inevitable. The jury convicted them on charges of fraud, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy, with one facing an additional charge tied to her husband's disappearance. The sentencing was harsh, but the damage done to their families and communities was beyond repair. The bodycams had not only revealed their lies, but had also captured the very moment their lives began to unravel. The dirty truth was out, and the 5 messy moms could no longer hide behind the stories they had once crafted so carefully.